Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Matthew, Garden Center Manager at Earthworks. Today we're in my backyard again, right next to the compost pile. And today, earlier, I found a papaya seedling growing out of my compost pile. So I am going to pot it up. This is not rocket science. However, I am going to put it in a pot with some soil so that way it has a chance to live, because if I leave it like this, it'll probably die. So let me go ahead and do that. I have a handy trowel here, a little bit of potting soil. Now this is Fox Farm, which is my favorite, the Happy Frog blend. So I'm going to pot this here a little bit high, in that I'm going to leave a lot of this trunk exposed, even though there are some roots growing off of it. Papayas grow relatively quick. They're a pretty fast grower, and here in Northeast Florida, they can do quite well. Here at the beach, actually right here in Neptune Beach, I have seen with my own eyes some very large specimens that have made it through the winter and have not only grown and thrived, but have gotten to maturity and produced some pretty amazing papayas. So we'll see if this young thing here can make it to maturity, but I'm gonna do my best. And I will update you throughout the year, throughout the years, hopefully, in the trials and tribulations that this thing might go through if we have some hard cold snaps. So I'm going to start it in a pot for a while, but eventually I'm going to put it in the ground so this thing can really take off. I mean, I've seen papayas here at the beach with trunks like this, all kinds of multiple root systems coming out, because they usually get cut back heavily after some frost and then they regrow. But this is just a baby, and we'll see what happens here. But it's going to be kind of fun. And if we ever harvest papaya, we will share that on video as well. All right, now we're going to move over to something else I have found in the compost pile. So a few months ago, I was throwing some compost into the compost pile. Well, it wasn't compost, it was actually food scraps into the compost pile. But I saw something growing in the compost, and so I transplanted over here. So these are actually potatoes. So potatoes grow a plant, believe it or not. I know it's hard to imagine, but potatoes do come from a plant. And so the plant is what you see here above ground, and the potatoes are actually going to be forming along the stems below ground. So what you do is when you first plant potatoes, you actually dig a hole. And I usually dig a hole in here about 10 to 12 inches deep, and I put the potato at the very bottom. Now, when I found these, it already had some of the plant, so I could skip kind of a few steps and move ahead. So the potato was at the bottom, and then off of that was a stem with these branches, and I planted the potato and the stems below ground. So underneath this is about 10 inches of stem attached to a potato, and then I formed the soil all around it until eventually you start making mounds. So I start mounding up around the stems, and then where the dirt touches the stem, it'll start rooting and eventually start making the storage vessels, which are the potatoes, the starchy potatoes. So the potatoes actually are food storage vessels for the plant. And as I mound this up, it'll make more and more potatoes up through the top. So potatoes are a cool season or winter crop here in Northeast Florida. I've grown potatoes successfully many times, many varieties of potatoes, and here in the future I'll give you some updates, but we'll also get into sweet potatoes, because in the summertime I like to fill my beds with sweet potatoes because there aren't a whole lot of other things I like to grow in the middle of summer when it's 90, mid 90s, upper 90s, 100% humidity. Sweet potatoes are one of the few things that really thrive here in Northeast Florida. So I'll update you on these potatoes, see how they do. And then I also wanted to show you these little pots here. So I have 5 pots here and 5 pots right over here. So I have some jalapenos started, and I have some golden wonder bell peppers started as well. So I did 5 and 5. Hopefully I'll have germination. Otherwise I may have to start with some seedlings. I do have a local person who grows some organic seedlings for us at Earthworks, and if these don't sprout, then I will be using some of hers for some gardening videos that we do in the future. So as you can see, I have my garden beds prepared, transitioning here into spring. So It's the beginning of February, which really is the beginning of spring. It's like 68 degrees today in the middle of February. So it feels like spring as far as the plants are concerned. It's spring. And so I'm getting a lot of my vegetables started here at the tail end of winter, so that way they have a jump start on the heat that is going to be coming here sooner than later. I don't even want to think about the heat. It's going to be here before we know it. So I got to get these vegetables started and growing before they're tortured by the relentless sun that we have here in the summertime. Now we're going to move over here because I want to show you some other things that we transitioned. So believe it or not, I still have tomatoes growing, but I do have big slicing tomatoes still ripening here. A couple different varieties of tomatoes. Got a big boy, and then this one here is the Celebrity. So Celebrity's got some red tomatoes on it. I've already harvested some from the big boy earlier. I also have some of the Midnight Snack over here, which is a black and red cherry tomato. Kind of a really dark purple, but these things are delicious. They are really sweet and juicy. I've been eating them all throughout the winter time. Got some that are getting close here, but not quite. I actually ate quite a few on my day off yesterday. I probably should have waited till I made the video, but I couldn't help myself. Also, I have several sugar snap peas growing. So I have sugar snap peas growing up the trellis here. This one has actually made it the furthest. There's, I think, probably that's about almost 9 feet up there. I have the tip of one of the sugar snap peas. I'll have to get a ladder to eat that one up there. That's forming, but I have several bunches. So I have a cluster here in a pot. I have a cluster over here. I have 2 pots over here clustered together growing up this side, and you see lots of the sugar magnolia, sugar snap pea here. And this I'm going to drop because I'm going to sample one here. This one's getting kind of fat. So I thought the idea of a purple sugar snap would be fun, and they're okay, they're good. However, my favorite is just a good old-fashioned green sugar snap peas, and those are actually a little sweeter. They get a little fatter. I'm not sure if I have any ready over here. Here's one that's ready. But these things are so good right off the vine. They rarely make it in the house. Sometimes I'll get some hummus and dip them in hummus, but I usually just eat them right off the vine. I think we have some cat and dog shenanigans going on next door. I just saw a bobtail cat run over here and then haul butt the other way. But we grow the peas. I start these, I think I started them end of October, end of October. And they take a while to develop, but you see these beautiful purple flowers on the sugar magnolia. That's the purple one. They also have purple flowers. And then the traditional sugar snap peas, the green ones have a white flower. I don't have any white flowers at the moment on here, but they grow really well. So I got them in a 7-gallon pot, filled up the pot with some of the Happy Frog soil, and then planted probably about 15 to 25 seeds in each one, and just let them all grow together. I have never done it this way before. This was the first time. I wasn't sure because in the very beginning, the only problem was, oh, there's a nice fat one. The only problem is that they were all getting tangled together. But as you can see, they made it through that stage of entanglement and have begun to get up toward the top of the trellis here with the grapevines. So I'm pretty stoked that the peas are doing well with this method. I wasn't sure in the beginning if it was going to work, but they are doing quite well. Then over here with the double pot, that's a good pea. You'll see this one's a little yellow. So we've had a lot of rain and a lot of moisture. So this cluster here is actually succumbing to a little bit of fungal issue, but I think we're going to be good overall because it's the only one that's showing signs of stress. Even the one right next to it is resisting it. So I have still four pots that are doing well and going to be productive, I'm sure, for at least another month or so. I'm still seeing new flowers develop on the plants. But sugar snap peas in the wintertime, if you've never had a fresh sugar snap pea, nothing like the ones you get in the grocery store. The grocery store ones are good, but anything that you grow yourself and can harvest it and eat it right there and then, the most flavor, the most nutrients, super crisp, moist, delicious. I mean, you lose a lot of moisture in the food you get at the grocery store, and sugar snap peas are one of them. They're a little bit on the dry side by the time you get them at the grocery store. I mean, they could be a week or more old, whereas you grab these off, like we got so much rain, after like heavy rainfalls, almost water is like popping out of the peas. There's so much moisture in there. So super, super easy. They almost take care of themselves. And peas make their own nitrogen. So I haven't even been feeding these like at all. So the food that's already in the Happy Frog soil has been enough to supply these large, tall growing vines with plenty of energy, plenty of nutrients to do what they do. And they're just a great snack when you're outside gardening. And if you feel like sharing them with friends and family, you could do that, but I generally just eat them off the vine and no one else ever sees them. So a little secret here in my backyard, sugar snap peas, my snack, absolutely delicious. All right, thanks for joining us for another gardening edition here at Earthworks. Again, my name is Matthew, the Garden Center Manager at Earthworks. Please subscribe and share on our YouTube channel, Earthworks Jax. Comment below if you want to see me grow something that you've never seen before grown. I will give it a try. If you want to send us seeds, you can send me some crazy seeds and I'll try that too. Be creative and I'll do my best to create some more content for you. Until next time.